One of the most beneficial things about being high is that I'm only thinking about a few things, but I'm thinking about them very intensely.
Simply and very intently, yes.
Instead of thinking about a whole host of things peripherally, where it's almost like there's too much data coming in from all these other things that I don't really care about or need. Look, you care about all sorts of things in your life that you're not going to deal with right now. And to harbor even a chunk of that in your consciousness it robs the rest of your resources for thinking about other things. And that's one of the most apparent things about pot to me. Because like here's a perfect example. When I smoke pot and then I play pool, I am 20% better. Like a legitimate 20% better. And I really think that it's because I'm not thinking about, oh, I got to do this, and then I got to call that guy, and then this guy, I got to respond to this dude's text, I got to respond to that person's email. When I get high, I just see balls. I see balls and green cloth and
Let me
chalk
take that one step further is you're also not even thinking about, I got to beat this fucking guy. You're thinking about, I want to make the shot.
I'm a douchebag.
No, but you want to make the shot. It's more about the shot, though. Like, I want to make the shot. I want to fucking win this game because I want to make the shot. I want to do. I see the angle. Oh.
There's a zen to it for sure. There's a thing that happens with pool that happens the same way in archery, and then in archery, like when you hit a target, it's so foolish. Like, of course, it's just a hay bale with a target on it, with a little paper target that has a yellow center, and you hit the yellow center. Whoop-de-doo, nothing changed in the world. I understand that, like, rationally, as a
My dick would probably get hard if I did that, though. I'd be like, ah!
You could do it. But the thing about doing that is that I don't know why, but when you do something correctly, when it all flows in harmony, just like with pool, it's the same thing. When you have a long shot and it goes in, if you've ever been at a bar when you watch people play pool and some dude makes, or some woman makes the craziest shot ever for the win, and everybody goes crazy, oh shit, because we know how hard it is to do, and there's something poetic and beautiful about watching it happen.
It's that you just described why golf makes any sense at all. I live on a golf course, basically. I like to hit the balls, and fucking I suck. But what keeps you coming back is you'll play that 18-hole day, and one time
you feel it.
You'll hit the shot that you meant to hit, the way you meant to hit it, and it went where you meant to go, and you're like, I can do that again. I know I can.
That's why I don't play golf.
And you're chasing. It's like crack. You're chasing that first fucking high forever.
I'm not disrespecting anybody who plays golf because I know I would get addicted, but I don't play golf because I know I'd get addicted.
Because you would. No, your whole person, it would. Because you'd hit that one shot the first day, and you'd be like, oh, shit.
It's the same reason I don't do coke. It's the same reason I've never done coke. The exact same reason. My friend in high school, Jimmy Lawless, good buddy of mine to this day, when we were back in high school, we went to a party, and people were doing coke, and he goes, Joe, don't do it. You'd fucking love it.
It's like Dewey Cox. The movie was like, you don't want this.
And I was like, okay, Jim, I trust you, buddy. I go, I'm fucking done here. I'm done with this. And I've said this before, but this is a real thing that happened. It was on a 2-lane road, and we were driving beside this car that had the dome light on, and I looked over, and there was this chick, and I'll never forget her arms. She had these big arms. Like, she had like almost like she had a sleeveless shirt with like thick arms. Like, it was the kind of girl that would punch you in the face, okay? And she was doing coke in the back seat, and she looked over at me with the dome light on, and she just goes, fuck you. She just says it to me like, I'm just looking at her. I'm just looking at her. You're doing coke. You're on a 2-lane road. There's only 2 cars on the road. I'm watching you do coke. I'm 7 feet away from you doing coke. And you're saying fuck you? Like, whoa, fuck coke. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. We used to call it, I had a few experiences with coke in my life, but here's the breakdown of coke and why it's evil. We used to call it, amongst a few people that I actually trusted enough to partake of it in my life, we called it the sneaky pouch.
Sneaky pouch.
Because what would happen is, like, you'd get some coke, right, and it'd be like in a fold, you know, like a paper fold. Everybody would put in for some coke, and you'd go somewhere, and every once in a while, you know, you'd be like, hey, let me get the pouch. I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick, and whatever. Right. When you went to that bathroom, the nature of coke, you would take a little piece of that off for yourself and put it in your own little dollar bill. That's your sneaky pouch.
Sneaky pouch.
The sneaky pouch. But what it says about, and everybody did it, the whole crew, like, nobody made cop to it, nobody fucking acknowledged it, but it's like, we all know we took a little piece for ourselves, you know what I mean, off of the coke pile and whatever. Sneaky pouch. It's it's a deceitful. Are you writing this down?
No, I have to write
Feel
a thought
free,
down.
dude. So it's like kind of just describes the nature of what mind state that puts you in. It's like, well, fuck everybody else if everybody sniffs, who's sniffing? You know, it's just like that's what that drug creates, and that's why I think 3 times in my life I've done it.
Well, any drug that radically changes your brain chemistry, whether it's whiskey or whether it's coke or, honestly, even pot, especially pertaining to edibles, we should watch very carefully what happens when people take it. And I think that's one of the things that I've been guilty of, and I know a lot of other people have been guilty of it too, just to totally come clean. I defend pot so much that I never look at the potential negative consequences of people doing pot if they're too young, because I didn't do it when I was young. I mean, I did a few times, maybe like a handful of times before I was 30. And then when I was 30, I met Eddie Bravo, and we started getting blazed all the time, and it just
really
changed the entire way I looked at pot.
I smoked pot was 14.
I definitely smoked it younger than that. I smoked it when I was 8. My stepdad gave me some when I was 8, just a puff, because I was curious. I was like, what happens when you do it? He goes, do you want to try it? I said, how much should I breathe in? He goes, don't breathe in a lot. Just breathe in a little bit. This is obviously like sketchy memory. I did it once when I was 8. Right. And then the next time I did it, I was probably like 14. And then I did it probably maybe again when I was 17.
I did it about 14 when we cut school, and some of the kids, a couple of kids that were the cool guys that I, kind of took a liking to me, and I was like, cool, the cool kids like me, I'm gonna go hang out with these dudes. And they smoke weed, and I remember I hit it, and they would tell me like, have you ever smoked weed? No, I never smoked weed. Nothing might happen to you the first time, but I remember vividly hitting this joint with these dudes and literally spending probably an hour and 30 minutes laughing my balls off at nothing. And I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And from then on, I quit baseball. I quit Pop Warner football.
No.
I became an artist.
Well,
I started drawing and painting on walls. I was a different person. That changed my life. Weed is another thing that's probably semi-responsible for my path.
I had a very important moment when I was 16. Like, I had only smoked weed a handful of times before I was 30 years old, like less than 12, like legitimately. And one time when I was 16, it was me and my girlfriend and my best friend. We went over to her house, and I had stole some weed from my stepdad. And we had rolled up a joint. And we got so high, we were teleporting. We would like find ourselves in the kitchen.
Astroplaning type shit?
We'd all be staring at each other on the couch, and then all of a sudden we'd be in the backyard. We were barbecued. We were fucking 16. I think my girlfriend at the time was 15, and Josh was my age. He was 16, and we were just time traveling all over the fucking building. We were way too high.
That's how I described the first and only time I ever smoked dust.
Oh, Jesus, you did that?
Well, I hung out with, like, when I was, one of the neighborhoods I moved into.
Is there a fucking gateway drug to dust? And tell me what it is.
Yes, it's called Cholos.
So did they go Cholos. Did they go right from Diet Pepsi to dust?
I don't know.
Like,
here's my story. As I moved onto this street called Independence Avenue in the Valley. It's like West Valley, kind of DeSoto, Sherman Way-ish. And it was heavily Latino neighborhood, and like we moved in, and it was cool. I mean, like I came friends with a lot of people, but like I went from like the end of elementary school into junior high, right in that era. So like once we hit the junior high, it's like a lot of the Mexican kids I was hanging out with started hanging out with the little bit older Mexican kids, and a lot of them were dealing in like kind of gang life over there. It's just part of the way they get down, and a lot of them like to fucking do dips, which is like a fucking Sherm cigarette dipped in a motherfucking
angel dust. Sounds like a healthy choice,
dude. It's how I wound up with this little tattoo right here. First tattoo I ever had in my life. This little 3 dots. Normally it's supposed to be up here, but I wasn't in the gang.
Oh, and
so it's like for some reason I was so fucked up. This is what wound up. I mean, represents what they call mi vida loca. It's like little 3 dots here, but it's like that happened because I smoked dust. Because these dudes passed me the Sherm. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was like this, bang, and literally the way you just described that time traveling, it was like I felt like if I thought of something to do, by the time I was finished with the thought of thinking to do it, I had already done it. I'm gonna call my mom. Goodbye, mom. You know, it's like that kind of thing. Like it was like fucking nuts. I fucking never experienced anything like that. I was terrified. God. I was terrified. Terrified. I didn't know what the fuck's going on. You know, it was almost like, you know what it gave me a lot of feelings is if you remember the first Friday movie when Chris Tucker reflects on like somebody snuck him a little piece of dust and he fucking I didn't lose my mind naked, all that shit, but I feel like I was the butt of a joke that night. Like somebody gave me some dust and was like, let's watch fucking the white boy fucking trip on dust all night.
Jesus
you know what
Christ.
I mean? But it made for a good story on Joe Rogan. So now we're even.
I had an ex-boxing coach who had his finger bitten off when he was on dust. And he had his toe removed. And his second toe replaced his index finger. And he made it curled so that he could keep throwing right hooks. Because he did. So when you'd shake his hand, you would get like
That's a toe?
weird.
This is toe right here?
Yeah, you get a toe bone. So when you shake his hand, you get a little of this. And he's a big old Irish gorilla. You don't want to say shit because he'll beat the fuck out of you. And the dude has a toe where his index finger's gonna be.
That should be written into a movie.
He's a savage.
That's got to be like, you know what I mean? That's like something out of Snatch.
I knew a lot of savages when I worked in Boston. When I worked in South Boston, I worked at this place called the Boston Athletic Club.
That's
it's
still
in South
creeping
Boston.
me out a little bit. You know that you did that to my palm. That's still,
I hear you, man.
I'm still creeped out.
Yeah. Dude, I worked at the Boston Athletic Club, and then I worked at Nautilus Plus in Revere. I met Revere, Massachusetts is like, well, what's that place in Brooklyn that's like all guineas and it's, what is it, Bensonhurst?
Bensonhurst.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
That was like the Bensonhurst of Boston. It was like Revere. And I worked in a gym there. So I was around a lot of crazy people. I was around a few people that got like indicted for murder. Like this one dude, he didn't get indicted, he got arrested. I don't know if they ever even tried him. Anyway. Long story short,
that's where you're leaving that? I don't even. I mean,
I don't know how much I can talk about this guy's life.
Oh, all right.
Without being
We don't want to cross any
disrespectful.
lines. All right.
He was a nice guy, but I think he might have fucked a few people up.
Well, there's nothing weirder to me. Not even weird. I don't know if that's the right word, but strange and uncomfortable as being around. And I'm not talking about like ex-Marines or guys who've been in the war or anything like that. I'm talking about like a civilian person, and I've been around quite a few of these kind of people, whether it be biker gang guys or whatever, that you know, have fucking killed people. You know that. You know what I mean? And you're not feeling threatened by them. You don't think they're gonna kill you, but like there's a.
I used to train a guy who was in Whitey Bulger's gang.
And he was like,
I don't know if he was a hitman, but that was like the rumor.
He saw one at least.
But he asked
Probably.
me while I was teaching him. He asked me if I was going to kill someone, what's the best place to hit him? And we sat around talking about it. Me and him were talking about it. This is when I was a black belt and he was a white belt. So it was like a valid conversation for him to be having with a 20-year-old kid. And I was like, the neck. I would hit someone in the neck. Like, your neck's very vulnerable, and people get knocked out very easily if they get hit in the neck, sometimes even more so than the head. And he was like, yeah. And we looked at each other. I'm like, okay, this is what I want you to work on right now. We're going to work. I was like,
that's
holy
funny because